Hello, everyone. It's Kate here again. One thing we must realize is never try to blame a victim of abuse. Never try to blame a victim of domestic violence. Because the very first thing an abuser takes away from a victim of domestic violence is their self confidence. Very first thing an abuser takes away from a victim of abuse is their self-confidence. So once the self-confidence is gone, the person lacks any form of motivation. The person is living in fear. The person is not able to actually think properly to make decisions. Such a person actually needs prompting, needs encouragement because they are in their most vulnerable state. So the reason why I'm saying this, I've been seeing a lot of posts on the social media. Some people, including even her pastors, blaming her, saying that she should have left. Religion killed her. Oh, this killed her. She should have left. One of the major things that a victim of, or that a perpetrator of violence takes away from a victim is their self confidence. Once the self confidence is gone, they become extremely vulnerable. They become they're not motivated to even waking up in the morning. They're not motivated to wake up in the morning. They begin to feel that people are judging them. That's why they become extremely secretive. They don't. That's why you hear sometimes after on a good day, if they're able to disclose to a friend or family what's about their ordeal, they end up saying, "Please keep this as make this confidential. Don't discuss it with anybody." So never blame a victim of abuse for their failure to either quit the marriage or flee the abuse or anything. It takes the special grace of God. It takes motivation. It takes constant encouragement, pushing, encouraging the person before perhaps one day, or maybe even showing them examples of victims who were killed and all of that. Sending them literatures, articles to read about, you know, the likely risk that they are exposing themselves to. So never blame a victim of abuse, of both physical and emotional and psychological and sexual, including financial. A lot of times we deliberate more on the physical aspect of abuse. So everybody's talking about the physical aspect of abuse. You even hear people who are abusing their spouses emotionally and psychologically. They actually join and they will be blaming the perpetrators of physical abuse. Unknown to them, they too, they are um, Baba, they are like really gurus in the field of abuse because they abuse their spouses emotionally and psychologically. There's also financial abuse and there's sexual abuse also, So it is important that we note the position, um, the mindset, and the vulnerability of most victims of abuse. you know so like when we talk about abuse, it's not only about the physical aspect. Like I've always reiterated, the emotional, mental, psychological aspects of abuse is even more serious because for the physical ones, the wounds can heal, except of course in extreme cases of a long history of violence, like what happened in Osinachi's case, where obviously it will appear that um, there was a long history of physical abuse, which actually piled up over a long period of time and obviously resulted in physical illness and pains and here and there. You understand, which resulted in her going into coma. You see, so if you're wondering whether you are a victim of a domestic violence, either physical, mental, psychological, financial, and all of that, take a look at this. There are some If you recognize some of this, then you know that you need help. You need to speak to somebody about it. You need to speak to a friend. You need to speak to a sister. You need to speak to a neighbor. If you have grown up children, sometimes you can actually also speak to them. Maybe they will be more innocent, or they will not actually feel intimidated by trying to call or to seek help, to call the attention of the authorities on your behalf if you are not strong enough or bold enough to do that because of fear. So if you experience a constant yelling and name calling, you are being called paranoid, you are being called crazy, you are being called fat, you are being called stupid, you are being called insecure, such names that are derogatory names, big fool, you're being called all kinds of names. You understand? So those are signs of emotional abuse, you know. And these insults, sometimes they are made to kind of ridicule you, and also ridicule even sometimes your physical look. Maybe if you're on the big side, you're being called fat, or maybe sometimes your spouse might kind of want to show an interest in maybe a lady who is slimmer than you, maybe trying to compare you with that person, knowing fully well that maybe you're struggling with your weight, and you're also trying to to go to the gym, to register at the gym to try and see how obviously you can manage your weight. So these are all signs of abuse, invading on your privacy, invading on your privacy. You understand? These are also signs of abuse. You know, punishing you if, for example, you refuse to kind of agree to obviously to certain um, patterns. Let's say, for example, for a spouse who is a serial cheat, and each time you want to bring it up, and obviously you've kind of expressed your dissatisfaction at that kind of lifestyle, and they want to force it down on you by, let's say, for example, they are cheating on you, and they come back home early even though they are cheating, and then by the time you express your dissatisfaction over the cheating, what they now do, they just go away and not come back until the next day. Maybe they now don't come back, maybe 2 days, 3 days. It's like saying to you, okay, if you don't accept my cheating, I'm going to actually punish you the more for not accepting it, and I'm going to go away. I'm not going to have your time. I'm not going to show you an attention and all of that. So all of that are signs of abuse. Also, making you feel guilty, making you feel that you are the one at fault, even though you know that you are actually not the one at fault. You know, and you know, and you know that you are not the one at fault, and making you feel that you are the one at fault, and always waiting for you to take that additional steps to make peace and to apologize over what you didn't know and what you didn't do. I beg your pardon, So making you feel that you are the one at fault, and lording it over you, um, kind of isolating you from friends and family, um, especially when they know that you are going to get some level of support and encouragement from that friend or from that family member, and then completely cutting you off from your friends and your family members, so that perhaps being apprehensive that if you are in touch with your friends and your family members, they may be able to empower you or to help you to encourage you to take that bold step to report the abuse. So those are signs. Those are the if you see those signs, um, and obviously it also includes making subtle or overt threats, um, either to themselves or to you, saying that obviously they are going to harm themselves, or they are going to do something, um, like kind of threatening you that if you speak up, you're going to get additional punishments from them and all of that, you know. Um, so those are also signs of those are the some of the signs of abuse. I've talked about isolating you from friends and family, Um, there are also shots. The impacts, the negative impacts of abuse on both the the victim of abuse and every other person that's around that victim of abuse cannot be overemphasized. You see, um, there are short and long term um, effects of abuse. And one thing you must realize is that anybody can be a victim of abuse, whether you are educated, whether you are uneducated, whether you are smart, whether you are intelligent, whether you are an employee, an employer of labor, controlling conglomerates, whether you are a doctor, you are a lawyer. Remember, sometimes last year, there's this um, victim of physical abuse. She's a medical doctor that was beaten and battered all over her face by her husband. The story, obviously, she was telling the story that even most times when she's pregnant, her husband was always hitting her on her tummy. She had marks all over, blood shot all over her face. You understand? So you can be educated. It doesn't matter. It's nothing to do with status, whether you are extremely rich or you are extremely poor. Anybody can be a victim of abuse. You understand? It is experienced by almost every facet of life. You see, and then sometimes you might actually, as a victim, you might be in denial, especially when you feel that okay, you are smart. No, it's not possible. This person cannot be abusing me. I know what I want. I know um no, I cannot be abused by this person. And being in denial in most cases has to do with the emotional and psychological abuse. I beg your pardon. The emotional and psychological abuse sometimes can be can most times be overlooked because it's not so um, pronounced. It's subtle. So it's just a gradual thing, like the silent treatment. The person might not really know that it's abuse. The person might just be thinking that, oh, my husband or my wife is keeping me malice. But it's affecting the person psychologically, emotionally, and all of that. So they might not really come up to say they are being, not everybody actually know that emotional and psychological abuse is abuse. So that's why you see even a majority of times when people cheat, they don't know the extent of damage, the extent of hurt, the extent of emotional and psychological hurt they are causing their spouses. And you hear people saying that, oh, it rains everywhere. Where are you moving from one state to the other? Because just because it rains, if you move from one state to the another, it's going to rain in that other state anyway. It's because they don't understand the extent of abuse that they're putting their spouses or they're putting the victim through by these acts of infidelity. It is extreme abuse. It is extreme emotional and psychological abuse. If you visit psychiatric hospitals, you find that a lot of women who are inpatients in those psychiatric hospitals, they actually it's as a result of failed relationships, heartbreaks, disappointments, and betrayal that they faced in the hands of their spouses. You see, so some of the long term effects, short term effects of abuse can be a feeling of confusion and a feeling of denial. Sometimes you say, no, it's not happening to me. It cannot happen to me. I'm smarter, I'm educated, I'm intelligent, and all of that. So you want to live in denial. Sometimes you begin to have that feeling of shame and hopelessness. Sometimes a feeling of fear. You feel fear. Um, and the emotional aspect can also result in behaviors of in behavioral patterns of which kind of translates into physical side effects. You may experience difficulty in concentrating at work. You become distracted at work. You experience difficulty in concentrating because you see when yeah because you are not together. You are not all together. You are emotionally drained, so you begin to lose concentration. Whether you are a student or you are an employee, whether you are at work, and even it's very dangerous even for a professional. Let's say, for example, you are a doctor, you are a lawyer, or you are a nurse. You want to administer um, medication sometimes to your patient, and if you don't have that stability of mind and all of that, you may kind of administer medication to your patient, or maybe you may give that patient an overdose. That is why sometimes you find that supervise people who are supervising um, their employees, sometimes they really want to be sure that the well-being of their employees or their staff is taken care of, because that actually helps uh, uh, to that actually helps them to be confident that they are able to be productive, so to say. I beg your pardon. You see, so another short-term effect is moodiness. The person becomes moody, and even that moodiness can kind of translate into depression, inability to wake up in the mornings, feeling of tiredness, fatigue, loss of appetite, loss of sleep, you know, um, you know, absent mindedness. You understand, and muscle tension. When when the mind is not at rest, when you are not at rest, it can actually translate into physical pain. So you begin to feel muscle tension, nightmares. You can experience nightmares, aches and pains, you know, um, raising heartbeat. You can begin to have palpitation of the heart. There are so many, and then sometimes you become tearful. You become tearful. You break down in a way that you can actually not explain what exactly is going on with you. You become extremely fragile emotionally, and sometimes you can get angry and actually become extremely sensitive to things that you overreact to uh, things that ordinarily you wouldn't have actually overreacted to. So these are some. There are so many others. I've talked about the aches and pains, you know, and of course the physical pains. Your immune system, obviously because of that feeling, that's because you don't have the rest of mind. Your immune system, you become vulnerable to all kinds of diseases, colds here and there, coughs, because your immune system now it's being affected also because of the way you feel and all of that. Sometimes you're not able to actually wake up to go to work. So these are some of the short-term effects of emotional abuse. You understand? So look out for some of these things. Are you experiencing abuse at home? Are you thinking that as far as you are not being abused physically, you are free from it? But you have to look at, does your partner stonewall you? Do they gaslight? Do they make you feel that you are crazy? Or even when you see that something is a client of mine actually once told me that when she stumbled on her ex sleeping with her best friend, they were actually saying to her, "It's not what you think. You have a mental problem. You are not. You are being paranoid. You didn't see anything. It's just in your head. Something you need help." And all of that. You're going crazy, you are insecure. She said they told her that thing over and over, that she actually started believing that perhaps she was actually really paranoid or psychotic, and that she was saying things that um, that were not um, the reality of actually what she saw. So that's the extent of the abuse that she went through in the hands of her ex. You see, so there are people, people suffer all those level of abuse in relationships, and they might not really know that they are being abused. They might think that because it's not physical, as far as they know, it is not abuse. There are some spouses who also invite their side chicks to their matrimonial home. So that's the high level of abuse. They invite their side chicks to their matrimonial home. They also invite their side chicks to family parties, to the same parties where their wives are there. They invite their side chicks to those parties. And you see even some of them, they wear the same ashwabi with other members of the family. So that's a high level of abuse, which can actually affect the self-esteem of that victim of abuse. It can affect their self-esteem. It can affect them psychologically, emotionally, and all of them. They can become depressed, So I actually think that emotional and psychological abuse um, is more deadly and more devastating than because the physical, everybody sees it, and perhaps as time goes on, it will heal when it's treated. That if not to the extent of killing that person instantly. But the emotional one is just like a canker worm. It's eating deep. Nobody knows. Even the victim themselves might not even know that they are being abused. They might think that it's normal. They might think that, oh, like their husband or their spouse is actually keeping malice. Oh, that's his way. He's always keeping malice. They may not understand that what that person is doing, as a matter of fact, um, is is that it's being abusive, you know. So I hope I've been able to kind of talk about, give it to highlight some of the short-term effects of abuse and what emotional and psychological abuse, what are the signs to look out for in order for you to know whether you are being emotionally and psychologically abused. In my next video, I'm going to talk about the long-term effects of abuse on the victim. And in rounding up again, I must emphasize that victims of abuse, they need a level of empathy. We need to, and patience and encouragement, because a lot of times they are not motivated to take the steps to do what they're supposed to do by reporting their abuser. Because remember, now they are living in fear, their self confidence has been taken away, they are being threatened sometimes. So they are living in that fear, thinking that if they go and report and then perhaps come back to the home, the abuser is going to perhaps kill them or do something based on the previous threat that the abuser has threatened them. You see, so it's important that we show that level of empathy and understanding for an abuser. And once the abuser has trusted us enough to divulge the level of abuse, like what um, um, Osinachi actually divulged to um, some of her friends, I think we'll be obligated in such situations to either take additional steps to help that person by not taking permission from them to report the abuse, but also taking, as a matter of civil responsibility, going ahead to report the abuse and in order to help that person. If at the end of the day you've helped that person and the person turns around tomorrow to say, oh, you broke their marriage, or you caused a division between them and the husband, it would have been better for that person to be alive rather than for the person to be dead. Let the person be alive and then go about carrying rumors that you brought about the dissolution of their marriage, rather than them being put 6 feet under by your inability to actually take steps to save them from an abusive partner. I hope you've been able to take one or two things. I would like to know your thoughts on this. Have you been a victim of abuse in the past? Have you experienced abuse, or you know anybody who has experienced emotional abuse over the years. There are some people, even during courtship, they already know that their spouse is a serial cheat and they take it on to their relationship. So the person is cheating on them for 20 years, for 25 years, for 30 years, and they are still in that relationship. They actually don't know that they are victims of abuse. They actually think that it is only when it's physical that it is called an abuse. I'd like to know your thoughts on this. And also, if you want to share your story, as time goes on, as we're building this platform, we want to be getting a guest, either if they want to come anonymously or they want to send their stories to us for us to share their stories, and then we'll be able to um, look at the nitty gritties of the circumstances of the misfortune or the thing, the circumstances of their story, and to obviously to diverge on it, to give people advice professionally or otherwise in order to help members of the public. So please contact me through my email or through inbox me, send me a WhatsApp message on 079 505 92545. The WhatsApp message again is 079 505 92545. If you have a story you think you want to share on this platform, if you've been a victim of abuse, a victim of domestic violence, either physical violence, sexual violence, financial abuse, or emotional and psychological abuse, and you think that you want to share your story with us, feel free to contact me. My email address is okoli11 at yahoo.co.uk. So it is KAY okoli11 at yahoo.co.uk. Also, thank you. You can see that the channel gradually, we are building it gradually. We're working so hard to see that we share our resources and our content to as many people as possible. But please, if you've got friends and family and you think that they'll be able to benefit from some of the resources we share on this platform, please tell them about this platform, this channel. Let them subscribe. If you've not subscribed just yet, also I'm appealing to you to subscribe. For those who have already subscribed and our returning subscribers who come to check our videos here and there, thank you very much. We appreciate you as you're helping us to support us in order to make sure that we grow this channel so that it will reach as many people as possible, so that so many people will be able to benefit from the resources and from the content, from the rich content which will continue to put out there to members of the public. Thank you very much. I will see you in my next video. As I said, in my next video, I'm going to be talking about the long-term effect, because we've talked about the short-term effect of abuse on its victim. So in my next video, we're going to be talking about the long-term effects of abuse on its victim. And so, as usual, I would say in rounding up, when God places people in our lives, we must be careful the seed we sow into their lives. When God places people in our lives, we must not be the reason why they end up dying untimely, they end up being diagnosed with terminal illnesses, they end up sick, or they end up in psychiatric hospitals, or they end up becoming anxious, having heart palpitation, having high blood pressure, or being diagnosed with any form of terminal illness. When God places people in our lives, we must be careful the seed we sow in our lives. If you know you cannot love people enough, or you cannot sow good seed in their life, but at least don't harm them. Allow them be. May God bless you, and may God give us wisdom to be able to understand the times and the seasons so we can do the right thing always. Thank you very much. I'll see you in my next video. God bless you. Thank you for watching to the end. God bless you. Please share. And if you've not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel. God bless you. Thank you. Bye-bye.